fine wine. Forgot me old fiddle. When the sun's coming up, I got cakes on a griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Thank God I'm a country boy. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
2 weeks ago, we went to the deep, deep south for a comic review.
Today, we're going back there. Sort of.
We're taking a look at Cross Country. His first figure was released in 1986 with all original body parts. And he kinda has a unique look.
Yeah, there's no two ways about this.
His look is at least partially based on that of a Confederate soldier from the American Civil War.
Awkward. I missed you, Clyde. Welcome back. Yeah, here's the thing. As Cross Country himself would say, I am a...
You dang blasted foreigner.
And while I consider myself well-versed in a great many things...
Most of them stupid and trivial, I'll grant you.
This isn't really my area of expertise.
Also, when it comes to Southern pride and the way the Civil War is still a much debated topic in America, yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Instead, have another scene of an ape punching somebody.
On the plus side, as a dang blasted foreigner, I can give my unbiased opinion on the figure's looks from when I got him as a kid, since I had no idea what the hell he was based on.
He looks stupid.
Okay, that was 8-year-old me's opinion. Let me elaborate. It's eclectic in its stupidity. His sleeves don't match his shirt, and I don't know how that even works. But they do match his lower legs. They have, well, I don't even know what you'd call those. Wraps? Gaiters? They look really dumb, whatever the hell they are.
Also,
I do not like his face. Let us remove it, yes?
Yeah, his face is too puffy, and he's got a weird look on him, like he's some sort of rube. Though that could be what they were going for here. Overall, this is definitely one of the weakest figures from the otherwise mostly excellent 1986 line.
now, Cross Country was a vehicle driver, and that means I just have to talk about the vehicle he came with, because it's one of the most awesomely stupid ones of the entire line.
Meet the Havoc. And the first thing I have to mention, the name is of course another bloody acronym. It stands for Heavy Articulated Vehicle Ordnance Carrier. Whatever the hell that is supposed to mean. Now, can anybody spot the glaring design flaw this thing has? Anybody? If you pointed to the gunner's seat, congratulations! You are not in fact legally blind. And you do not have a huge coke addiction like the toy designers in the 80s did. Yes, the gunner for the heavy cannons, the biggest weapons on the thing, and thus something the enemy will want to take out first, is completely unprotected and sitting on top of the bloody thing. This isn't the first time this has happened, by the way. Take the HISS tank, for example, where the gunner is exposed too, but at least there you can sorta duck down and use the turret as a makeshift foxhole or something. What are you supposed to do on the Havoc? Hide behind the seat when they start shooting at you? Yeah, real useful.
Hey, I wonder if this is how G.I. Joe gets rid of recruits they don't like.
Okay, for this mission, I need the yellow ninja dude in the gunner seat. Speak up if you object. Great! Let's move out! To go back to the comparison with the HISS tank, this vehicle too protects the driver with a glass dome. Yeah, and I know, if you check the blueprints they call it an impact-resistant canopy, but since the military hardware is usually built by the lowest bidder, They're not fooling anybody here. Also, the driver is supposed to lie down and look at a monitor, not at the actual terrain he's driving on. That just seems like a recipe for disaster. And as soon as that monitor goes out, you're gonna get the mother of all neck cramps just to see where you're driving. Now, to be fair, all the things wrong with the Havoc have to do with the front of the vehicle. The back is actually pretty awesome. It's got missiles for extra firepower, and the best thing is a small recon hovercraft hidden behind them. And yeah, I know it's called a hovercraft,
But you know, every kid, including me, used this as a flying car, right? And it was awesome.
That's the thing about the Havoc, and why I called it awesomely stupid. I can't help but love this goofy thing. Despite it being so illogical, it would make Spock's brain explode. Cross Country got one more toy in the original line. His second figure, with all original body parts, was released carded, so without a vehicle, in the Battle Corps line.
He looks worse.
He's got dark orange detailing that I'm calling red for the sake of my own sanity. That looks really out of place. And his rebel motif seems to have reversed. While on the first figure it was his pants, now his jacket seems to be rebel themed. And he appears to be wearing acid-washed jeans. Look, I know the Joes have always, to put it mildly, had a somewhat lax dress code, but I'm still gonna call bullcrap on the jeans. Yeah, when frickin' Bazooka looks more like a real soldier than you've got problems. I also need to mention, he's got a giant Confederate flag on his back.
Not with a 10-foot pole. Although I do have to wonder if him and Wild Bill ever had words.
Considering this is what Wild Bill looked like at the time. Think they got along? Finally, there's the head. For some reason, he went from having brown hair to being a ginger. That in itself isn't a problem, but they made his eyes the same color. It makes him look like he's possessed by demons. Yeah, all this does is further the myth that gingers don't have souls. Well, those were all the toys Cross Country got in the original line. And they're both kinda crappy.
With that, let's move on to the character, starting with the file cards.
The first file card is actually very bland. It just talks about his parents driving heavy machinery, leading him to have an affinity for handling big rigs, and making him an expert in piloting the Havoc. There's nothing at all about him being from the South, unless you count the basic information that he's from North Carolina. It's a boring file card. I'm actually kind of impressed they didn't go with the whole stereotype thing.
Yup, kind of impressed. Too bad there's a second file card.
And here's where things get stupid. It starts off with a quote from the man himself. And not just an ordinary quote, but a rhyming one at that. I'm always ready to battle anything rotten like I did in my days back in the land of cotton.
We're off to a great start, aren't we?
The file card goes on to say that this good old country boy goes into battle with his rebel yell and the southern flag on his back. If this was any more of a stereotype, he'd be Yosemite Sam.
Yeehaw! Let's put another shrimp on the Barbie! Wait, that's Australian, isn't it? Look, I told you this wasn't my area of expertise.
One final thing about the file cards, that has nothing to do with the South for once, is that they say Cross Country is the battle wagon driver. Yeah, during this time, Hasbro had gotten into the annoying habit of not including figures with vehicles anymore. Instead, you had to buy them separately. And this never fails to piss me off. Ugh, You know what? Let's just move on to the comics, shall we? Cross Country and the Havoc made their debut in issue 51. In this comic, Zarana and Xandar have infiltrated G.I. Joe headquarters to get their brother Zartan out. They get discovered, and during their escape, they run into our good old boy.
You immediately get a full blast of what he's all about.
Why, I'd surely be happy to oblige a fine certain lady like yourself, Miss Scarlet, ma'am. But you ain't Scarlet. Zarana, disguised as Scarlet, then calls him a dumb hillbilly. He retorts, I'm no hillbilly, I'm a redneck and proud of it.
Great, now I have to go look up the difference between a redneck and a hillbilly, don't I? The things I do for this show. There sure are some angry people on the internet, and they'll argue to the death about this crap.
Near as I can tell, Cross Country was right, as hillbillies tend to be from the mountains and live in seclusion, while rednecks are more part of society. Unless the hillbillies move to Beverly Hills, of course. Anyway, issue 51 is a pretty good introduction to the character and the Havoc, as they get into a chase/battle with the Dreadnought Thunder Machine. Cross Country gets to show off he really is a good driver. And Southern. Very, very Southern. Being a vehicle driver, this pretty much relegated him to minor character status, I'm afraid, so he didn't get to do much in the rest of the comic. One notable bit of trivia, though. Remember my Breaker review, where I mentioned he died in the comic along with a bunch of other Joes during a shocking story arc? Well, guess what? Cross Country was there too. He was in the same damn situation as Breaker, but he somehow survived.
To be completely honest, I wouldn't have minded if it had been the other way around.
Finally, there's the cartoon. Cross Country first showed up in Arise Serpentor Arise, the miniseries that kicked off Season 2. He is first seen installing a tape deck into his Havoc, to Beachhead's annoyance. His only characteristic is that he's Southern and likes country music. Oh, and remember what I said about the gunner seat on the Havoc being a death trap?
They somehow managed to make it worse in the cartoon.
Yeah, they treat that thing as if it were the driver's seat. Seriously, they drive the bloody thing from the gunner station. So now, if the guy sitting there gets shot, the whole vehicle would stop moving.
Then again, this is the cartoon we're talking about, where nobody ever gets shot, so maybe that problem just sorted itself out.
Anyway, despite being a vehicle driver, Cross Country actually had an episode of the cartoon series pretty much dedicated to him. And it's the last ever episode of the Sunbow series. Unless you count the movie, but I don't count that piece of crap for anything. It was called Into Your Tent I Will Silently Creep, and yet it is not a porn. Remember that in his first appearance, Cross Country installed a tape deck in his Havoc?
That's actually a plot point here.
The story is about Cobra using cyborg rats to steal his tape deck.
And you know what? With a premise that stupid, I think I just found my next cartoon review.
We learn the guy plays country music in his vehicle just to annoy the crap out of the enemy. And he's got a short fuse. Hell, he tries to fistfight pretty much all of Cobra Command by himself this episode. And he continues to be Southern.
This place reminds me of Aunt Hazel's kitchen. Ain't been cleaned in a coon's age.
Really?
Ain't been cleaned in a coon's age.
You know, I've tried to be fair here. I've tried to be objective. I even admitted that I'm not an expert when it comes to this crap. But really? Are you freaking kidding me with this?
I'm beginning to think this guy has some white robes and a hood hanging in his closet. Yeah, I know the term refers to raccoons originally, but when South Park names a character after it just to be edgy, You know you shouldn't just throw it out in polite conversation or in a children's cartoon.
And that was Cross Country.
In conclusion, the toys of the character are either bad or mediocre. But I can't help but love the Havoc in all its idiotic insanity.
The character, well, what can you say really? He's a stereotype.
The hell you say? A stereotype? In G.I. Joe? Surely you jest! That's never, ever, ever happened before. Yeah, sometimes G.I. Joe makes The Simpsons look tame in comparison.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm done with this character. Except I'm not, because I just promised that he'd be the focus of my next cartoon review. Kill me now!
Well, I got me a fine wife, I got me old fiddle. When the sun's coming up, I got cakes on a griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny riddle. Thank God I'm a country boy, yeah!